Hello and welcome to yet another OmniFocus Fitness video. Now, let me make this very brief. At the end of this introduction, there will be a menu system. At that menu system, you can click on the option for where you want to skip the video to. So what option you're trying to learn about. By the end of this video, you will have your macronutrient numbers. Okay, your specific personalized macronutrient numbers. No macro coaching. No, you don't need nobody's help. Okay, so I've got two different ways of figuring out your macronutrients. Your macronutrients. So again, by the end of this video, you'll know everything you need to know to get started with flexible dieting, IIFYM, macronutrients, etc., etc. So let's get started, shall we? Welcome to the automated style of figuring out your macronutrient numbers. In this instance, we will be using the IIFYM.com calculator, and we will be going step by step to figure out your macronutrient numbers and where to begin. So, first step, make sure you go to IIFYM.com right here, okay? Click enter, go there. Alright, you should see a screen like this with a lot of advertisements, which are kind of a pain in the ass, but let's move on anyways. Then you will go to calculators, and you will go to IIFYM calculator, the first calculator under the calculators tab. Click on it. Hopefully your internet is quick enough, and you will find yourself here with more advertisements. Okay, some of this might look intimidating. Don't worry about it though. Let's put an age. Put your age. Don't put my age. Don't put the age that I'm hypothetically putting in here. So let's just say 22-year-old. This person is a male and has a height of, let's say, 5'9". Well, let's make them 5'7". Sucks to be them. And they weigh roughly 140 pounds. Nah, let's beef them up some. 155 pounds. Alright, so you use the whatever metric that you'd like, the imperial or the metric. If you live in the United States, you're going to be using the imperial. If you live in Europe or really anywhere else in the entire world, you'll be using the metric. So for this one, follow the instructions that display as you move over your cursor over each one. Most people can probably end up using the athlete's formula, but again, I would use whichever one is recommended here for you, whichever one you feel is closest to you. So move down this random space, these random advertisements, and you're going to put, well, here is your exercise level. So it says up here exercise level. You're going to be moving down here to actually press it, and as I've said in other videos, you will absolutely not use the basal metabolic rate. Okay? The numbers you will receive with the basal metabolic rate will be extremely low, and you will be shocked, and you will be mad, and you will think you can never lose weight. But that's because you've picked the wrong numbers. So, you can use any of these other numbers, all right? But this is all based on the projected exercise level that you will be using from here on out. So, as of today or as of tomorrow, whenever you start your exercise program or do not start your exercise program, in which case you would put no exercise, this needs to be done on a consistent level. So let's say this person decides that they want to work out 3 times a week. Okay, so for your current body fat, please do not put anything. Unless you have gotten a bod pod in the past week or a DEXA scan in the past week, do not even bother putting anything for the body fat percentage. Just ignore it. So then you're going to click on this button right here, calculate TDEE. Alrighty, so what does TDEE stand for? You're probably wondering. If you aren't, I'm going to tell you anyways, because that's who I am. Total daily energy expenditure. Your BMR, as I've shown you, basal metabolic rate, as I told you not to use, and again, we will be ignoring it. It's going to tell you your BMR is 1663. Please ignore this number. No, stop it. Don't look at it anymore after I just highlighted it. Let's moving on to the TDEE. That's the number that you want to be using. So your number is 2,287 calories, but that isn't the end of it, okay? The end of it is when, well, actually we still have another step. The next step is figuring out your goal. So let's say you want to lose some weight. The suggested is absolutely what I would suggest as well, only about a 15% drop from your calories. In that case, you click suggested and it will adjust. If you really want to be aggressive, then feel free to click aggressive. I'd probably never recommend reckless. But suggest is what I recommend if you're trying to lose weight. If you're just trying to figure out your macros, just for the hell of it, because you want to start practicing macronutrients or for whatever reason, click on maintain. Bunch of advertisements again. Okay, so then if you want to gain weight, I would absolutely use cautious or textbook. I think either one is a pretty good guess. Aggressive isn't too bad. I mean, that honestly wouldn't be that bad. You could probably use all three of them. I just tend to pick, I'd probably pick a textbook. That's what I usually go with. And if you're really feeling wild, you can type in custom calories. But if you're a complete beginner, just ignore this. Just go with one of these three options. So once you have picked your, I'm just going to pick maintain. Just for simplicity's sake. Then you're going to come down here and it's going to ask you a bunch of different diets that you would like to be doing. We are talking about flexible dieting. We are talking about IIFYM if it fits your macros, and therefore you will be clicking IIFYM as is recommended. Okay, so click it. Then your protein needs to be, if you are trying to gain muscle and you will be in a caloric surplus, as in here, weight gain, the weight gain section, then you can leave your protein at 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. Leave it there. Now, if you are in fat loss, if you are trying to lose weight, if you're in suggested, aggressive, or reckless, which I still don't recommend, then you will move it to the custom, which is already set at 1 gram. If it is not set at 1 gram, please set it at 1 gram. Type that in. Now, moving on to fat. Fat, really the recommendations, as far as I know, move from around 0.4, between 0.4 and 0.5. So I'm just going to put 0.4. Really, it depends how much fat you would like to consume based on your diet preferences. But let's just say 0.4 for this. And carbs are automatic. It's so beautiful, isn't it? Once you have your protein, once you have your fat, then your carbs are automatic. And right here is where they will pop up. And how you get them to pop up is once you filled all this stuff out, you click calculate, and bam, there we are. Now, I'm going to click this to 1 meal per day because, quite frankly, meal timing doesn't matter that much for you, so don't worry about that. Just worry about these numbers. So focus on the grams per day row. So for this individual, because again, all these numbers are based on your individual, your body. Okay, so don't fill all this stuff in based on what I put in here. So for this individual, he will be consuming roughly 308 to 310 grams of carbohydrates, be consuming 124 grams of proteins and 62 grams of fat, as well as 31 to 39 grams of fiber. But these three numbers especially are your nutrient dense numbers. So now that you have those, your carbohydrates, your proteins, and fats, make sure that you hit those on a daily basis, and those add up to your calories that you were given earlier on. And that's it. You've got your macronutrients. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. How exciting is that? All right, so go ahead and get started. Today's day 1. Let's do it. All right, see you in the next video. Hello and welcome to the first part of the manual IIFYM macronutrient number finding scenario. How that was very eloquent. Anyways, first thing we have to do is find our calories before we can go on to the actual finding the macronutrients. And I'm going to assume that you don't know how to find your calories. If you do, please skip ahead to the rest of this part where I will break down how step by step how to figure out your macronutrient numbers manually with math. Something I suck at, but in this case I'm actually pretty decent at it. Anyways, so figuring out your calories. I like to use this website because it's very nice, clean, simple website. Really, if you type into Google calorie calculator, any one of them will work, but I like to use this website. I'll probably link it below in the description box in case you'd like to follow along step by step. So let's put in our age. Let's say this hypothetical person is 22 years old. Okay, they are a male. Okay, so click on male, and they weigh 190 pounds. Actually, let's make it 150 pounds. So 150 pounds, of course you can also click it in kilos if you're from Europe. And let's say they are 5'9". Okay, again, type in all of your information in. Do not copy this exactly. And then you're going to put your exercise level. So absolutely do not leave it on basal metabolic rate. This will be an extremely low number, and you will probably look at the screen with complete disgust because you will think that you need to be eating at this number, which is completely wrong. So no, you do not click metabolic rate. You will pick any of these options here. But let's say, for example, that our person works out daily. And this is what your projected is. So, just because you used to work out 2 times a week or 3 times a week, this needs to be from this point forward, how many times a week consistently are you going to work out? So let's just say little Freddie is going to be training daily because he really wants to get in shape. So then you're going to click on advanced options. Please go to advanced options. You will leave this in calories, and here there are 3 different calculators. You may think you may know your body fat percentage, but most people tend to overestimate or underestimate their body fat percentage. So please do not use this calculator unless you have maybe gotten a bod pod or a DEXA scan of some sort, which is relatively accurate. So in that case, I guess you can use Catch-McCardle system, but otherwise, if you're unsure or if you haven't done one of those 2 methods or you have no clue at all, then go ahead and click the Mifflin St. Jeor. That's the calculator that I recommend. Then let's click on calculate. Boom. All right, it brings us down. So all it did was just bring us down. All right, so here are 3 numbers. You will be ignoring this one. Ignore it. As well as this one. Ignore it. Okay, so then it gives us a maintenance of 2,592. Feel free to round up to 2,600 on that one. So now you have your calories. So you have your maintenance calories, which is also known as your total daily energy expenditure, your TDEE. So let's move on to the next step. Hello, welcome to the manual mode to figure out your IIFYM, your macronutrient numbers. So we're going to be looking at a hypothetical situation, and we will go step by step to figure out the three numbers that you will need to accomplish your IIFYM goals. So the hypothetical situation that we have in front of us is a person with a total daily energy expenditure, their maintenance number, of 2,000 calories. Now, of course, for you may have a number completely different from that, and you should already know that number based on the calculator that we have already used. So that is the calories. So the object is to go from calories to finding your protein, fat, and carbohydrates. This person also has a body weight of 150 pounds. So let's get started. As far as their protein, let's figure out their protein. Alright, for this section, we are going to need to find two different numbers. One is your actual protein in grams of how much you need to be consuming. So let's assume that this person, 150 pounds, so you're going to take your weight, so 150 in this case, again, put your weight in there, 150 times, let's say in this case, this person is trying to consume 0.8 grams. So the recommendation is between 0.8 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So we're going, in this case, we're going to take 0.8. So 0.8 equals, and you will need your calculator for this. I have a handy dandy tool that allows me to pause the video so you don't see me struggling with math. 120 grams of protons. Kidding, protein. So you've got 120 grams of protein. Bam! Number one. You have your protein grams. So write that down somewhere. Do whatever you need to. So now the next number that we need to figure out before we move on to the next macronutrient is how many calories you have left. So as we know, protein is made up of 4 calories per gram. So what does that mean? That means that we take the protein that we will be subtracting from our total, our maintenance calories, so the 2,000 in this scenario, and obviously once again is going to be different for your number. So 120 times 4. Let's do the math on that. And in this case, that leaves us with 480 calories. So we have our two numbers. This one right here is the one you should be writing down, and we will still need this one temporarily. So what happens? We will now take our 2,000 calories, right, minus 480, which equals 1,520 calories. So that's what we've got left over. So again, to reiterate, you have already used up 480 calories to allot to protein. Now we've got two other macronutrients that on a daily basis you will be consuming. So with this 1520 calories, we have to split that between fat and carbohydrates. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's move on to fat. Bam. And for fat, we will need to use body weight again. So let's put this hypothetical body weight, which again, I have to reiterate, is probably going to be different for you. So this person is again 150 pounds. So we will multiply that by the allotted amount for fat, which should be between 0.4 and 0.5 grams of fat per pound of body weight. So in that case, let's just use 0.4 for this person. So 0.4 equals, let's do the math on that, 60 whole grams of fat. Brilliant. All right, well, again, just like protein, we do need to know what is left over for carbohydrates, and therefore we need to multiply. However, fat is a little bit different. Fat is extremely calorically dense as opposed to protein and carbohydrates. And therefore, you take the 60 grams here, 60 grams of fat, put it here, so 60 times 9, not 4. So while protein and carbohydrates make up roughly 4 calories, fat actually makes up 9 calories. So let's do the math on that. Okay, that leaves us with 540 calories. Well, that gives us 540 calories. So what shall we do with that? You've probably already figured it out faster than I could. So you're going to take the 1520 that was left over and subtract the 540 calories, and that will give you 980 calories. So that's what is left over. Now for this one, now that we have our last number, all we need to do is figure out, let me move this down some. All we need to do is figure out our carbohydrate. Let me make sure I write that correctly. Carbohydrate numbers. And for that, it's pretty automated. So all we're going to do is take the remaining number of calories and we will not be multiplying. We will be dividing by 4 because there are 4 calories in every gram of carbohydrates. And as we have calories all throughout, we will now figure out our grams. And bam, this person comes out with 245 grams of carbohydrates. Zing zam, and we're done. Alright, so to kind of clear this up, this person needs 120 grams of protein. Whoops. Of course something like that would happen. Oh, and 60 grams of fat. Let's capitalize that just for the hell of it. And carbohydrates. We are left with 200, as we just figured out, 245 grams of carbohydrates. Now that will end up adding up to 2,000 calories as we started out here. So we changed this 2,000 calories and broke it down into 3 numbers, which turned out here. And whoa, stop it. Okay, fix that. As you can tell, this is a rough edit. Anyway, so now you have your macronutrient numbers, and you can now start IIFYMing it up with the rest of us, or flexible dieting it up with the rest of us, as you prefer. I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya. Hopefully you found that video helpful. And if you want to see further videos, further content, more detailed content, etc., then please subscribe. And lastly, if you want to know even more information about the topic of this particular video or any of the other videos that I have up, then check the description box where I have a detailed article on exactly how I went about everything, as well as all my sources are linked in said article. Alright, well, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.